Welcome to the Kaiju Podcast. I'm Ralph.
I'm Jorge.
And today we are talking about Reigo. Reigo.
The deep sea monster versus the battleship Yamato, 2005.
Right.
Okay. A little history first.
Okay.
We have not seen the third of the reboot cameras yet, but what I had learned was that basically the third installment leaves some unanswered questions for fans, I guess.
Okay.
And then this guy made a fan film, which was basically a Gamera 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that got, I guess, some good response. And then this is the movie he did after that, which is pretty ultra low budget.
Yeah.
Monster movie. Yeah. This is a real battleship, by the way. Did you know that?
I looked it up because I was familiar with the name.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, it's like from an anime or something I haven't seen before. Like maybe it had been brought up during Latitude Zero or something. I don't know. Or I don't know. It sounded familiar.
Yeah, so this was like, the top tier battleship in Japan's Navy back during World War II.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about, the reality a bit more, because like after it faces Rago,
Mm-hmm.
it then lives on, and then it has its final mission was basically a suicide mission. Like it like beaches it was there to beach itself somewhere to block and just hold off the American Navy as long as it could, but until basically it was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that's like at the end of it when it starts turning all kabuki.
Okay.
In the movie,
Uh-huh.
it says in the caption, it says, the rest of the story, and then it kind of did this kind of weird artsy kabuki thing in its kind of telling of that the rest of the history as far as Battleship Yamato goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thoughts? Where do you want to start?
So
with
what's
this?
funny is no matter, like, I think we alluded to this in X Strikes Back, Attack on the G8 Summit, where we do not really contact each other about our thoughts before we start recording.
Right.
And what's funny is
it's all about trying to save it for
we
the
must have
shows.
Yes, we must have. Well, here's the thing. Also, on our last episode, we said that we were gonna set up our list and for the remainder of this year, so that we could have a really good, final year and get everything like that we want to see going. And so the list was kind of set in place. We must have watched this movie about the same time, because not more than like a couple hours after I watched it, I get a text from you that says, is it possible that we discuss keeping Reiga on the list, or something to that effect? Which led me to respond, yes, absolutely.
I was about maybe a half hour into the movie.
Oh, really?
And I was like, depending on how Rago goes, we can decide if we want to see Reiga.
Right.
I'm reading the text right now.
So kind of looking for artwork to post on the Instagram page and stuff.
Yeah.
For Rago, I keep finding stuff for Reiga. Reiga.
I think it's Reiga and Rago.
Okay. So Reiga looks like a man in the suit.
Yeah.
And this one definitely was not, even though I think there's some like close-ups of the face, but there's so much like green screen that it doesn't look
The
like a guy in a suit.
It's so yeah. There's some
So
puppets. There's definitely some puppets.
right.
I mean, I think the puppets for the bonefish look better than
Yeah,
Rago puppet.
right. Um I don't know what to do. I can say let's just toss it aside and find something else to take its place. But I mean, do we seeing the man in the suit stuff means it would be cool to see what this guy did with actual physical models, but at the same time, like I don't know. Like, is it
I don't know.
something?
Listen, it's like so basically this is us basically letting everybody know that yes, we put dates for put episode numbers for the different movies that we're planning to hit over the course of this final year of doing this,
Mhm.
but nothing is set in stone. Things can change.
Right.
There's definitely some that we really want to hit. Like, I mean, we want to see all those Ishiro Honda movies that we can. But yeah,
I,
we might take a detour. We didn't know anything going into Rago. We just found out that it existed, and then I found
yeah.
that it was coming out on DVD. I got a copy, and then we checked it out, and I don't know if it's exactly what we want to spend our time on.
I know. So that's what I'm thinking is do we. I mean, the only thing we have to go on as far as the sequel is our gut and what we saw in this movie, which I don't think for either of
Yeah,
us
and
was
I have
very good.
one more thing. I have one more thing that said it didn't seem that it was that great, and I was like, oh, because like based on the reviews that someone had done for this one and Raya, they liked this one more, and I was
Okay.
like, ooh, if this is the better one, I don't know.
Because I was thinking
This,
maybe talking to the listeners.
yeah, this is why we
It's,
come to you and ask you like if there's anything that you think we should hit for sure.
but
You
I
know,
mean,
there might be some spots opening up.
yeah, but like, look, so like, if you're like, hey, I like Riga a lot, go look at our list and say, oh, but you gotta watch blank before you watch that. Like, like
Yeah.
there's you can see what we haven't chosen over the course of uh, of the year.
Master list, yeah.
Yeah, so if there's something on there where we're like, oh, you guys absolutely are missing out if you don't watch that, let us know so we can slot that in to Riga. Because I think we may skip it,
Yeah.
but this movie, it was.
Listen, if this movie had a better budget, it might be we might have enjoyed it.
I think I don't even think that's the issue. I think what we want to see is destruction, and what we get is just
Oh yeah.
a series of battleships versus these creatures
Yeah.
that could be moved around and placed around in any order, with the
Yeah.
exception of like the final one. Like there's no like sequence where you're like, oh, that was the cool sequence where this happened. It's all just them firing or not firing guns
Yeah.
at the giant monster. So I mean, I don't think we always need like city destruction.
Yeah.
That helps, but this it's like takes place completely in water. Like even with Monster X Strikes Back, even though it was only on that one little set with the bushes and the and like the
Yes.
power lines, like you still
Right.
had a monster fight.
Yeah.
You still had like three or four different sort of missions to try to stop a one that like covered his body in plastic and one that uh, shot some sort of sad gas that made him happy or something. Like there was
Right.
different set pieces, and then we had a monster fight. This was
Right.
just like the same thing every single time, and the effects look like a PC game.
Exactly. Exactly. It looked like a video game.
Yeah, but like this came out in 2005, and it looked
Yeah.
like video games from like maybe 98,
Sure.
like along the lines of like a PlayStation 1.
Yeah,
which I mean I understand it's a low budget.
yeah.
I thought Rago, I thought he looked cool as far as the
The moments when
design.
like they animate him jumping out of the water,
Yeah.
those are cool looking,
Hmm.
but
Right.
they don't impinge. They don't have an impact. Listen, a fight of a monster against a battleship isn't easy because battleships are slow.
Right.
And I liked the concept. I liked the Hail Mary strategy of basically partially sinking the ship so that it could tilt.
Right.
That was kind of a cool idea,
Hmm.
but there's not a lot of show in that type of a fight. You know,
Right. And because it's
it's not
CG,
action.
yeah, right, right. And I don't even think you see the creature bust up any ships. It's either the lightning or he gets it from below the water. So there's no like
Yeah.
real. It doesn't feel like there's real like uh, uh, sort of physical altercation between the two sides. Like at least when we watch like Frankenstein Conquers the World, they built a giant boat and he's pushing on the giant boat.
Yeah.
Or in I think it was Giant Behemoth, he takes out a boat and there's
Right.
like
There's
people
never a
there's
moment
people
where you
falling
feel
off in the
like
water.
the monster's touching the boat.
No.
Even when he does the tail whip, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this, yeah, for sure. And there's stuff in it that's, listen, the part of like it being a low budget movie. There's moments where the sound isn't good because it's like not everyone is mic'd well.
Right.
Little things like that just start grating on you as a viewer. At least it does on me. Or the bit. What do you think of the bit with like the bloody hand and then it drops halfway down the wall?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, but it's very kind of like low budget horror movie kind of effect.
Right.
It's such a like plastic hand and fake blood kind of
I
bit.
I
Yeah.
think that's one of the toughest things with this movie is you have a bit like that, which is kind of cheesy, but I thought was fun. But
Yeah.
then it seemed like the battleship stuff, even though I didn't know it was based on a real ship, felt very serious. And so there's a
Yeah,
lot of
it
points.
has some tone problems.
Yeah, so we start off, and I feel like I was like, oh, it's going to be like a funny
A
comedy
comedy.
because
Right.
there's this man and this woman who are expecting a baby, and
Yeah.
he wants a baby with a penis
Yeah.
to the point where he chants
you
it.
learn penis.
Yeah,
You learn the Japanese word for penis by watching this movie. Because he says it very clearly. Chin chin. At least that's one of them. I went to double check if that was right. And there are a few Japanese words for penis,
Yeah.
like any language. But yeah.
but there's a couple of questionable shots that I was like, okay, it's a comedy, but then it starts taking itself kind of seriously, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, not only that, as a comedy, it's like it's aiming for like American Pie. It's like
Right.
the part where he thinks he sneaks his girlfriend onto the boat
Yeah,
and he's fondling her boobs and then they lift the thing that was covering her face and it turns out it's an old man.
right.
That kind of humor. It's like, what?
And then there's a shot of schoolgirls' underwear for no reason. That was bizarre too. When all the girls were walking along the beach singing, and then one of the
Okay.
girls grabs the front of their skirts and lifts them up.
Oh, really?
You might have been
I
taking
think
a
I
note
missed
about
that.
something else weird. Because I think that happened like right after we first see like the CG ships for the first time, or after the dude feels the old man's boobs. But
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I wasn't sure because like this DVD, I wasn't sure also about the company as far as like how good it was going to be. There was no English dub, so we had to read during it, and whoever did the subtitles, they subtitled everything
Right. It was like subtitle
to
for
the
the hearing
point of
impaired.
ridiculousness. Yeah, exactly. It was like, you know, hungry grunts, groans
Right.
in relief, gasp, relief,
Sets glass down.
paper shakes.
My two favorite happened at the back to back. Plate put down angrily and melon stabbed repeatedly.
Yeah, spoon jabbed at melon repeatedly. Now, technically, based on the picture, that was a papaya half.
Uh,
But yeah, that one. The other one I liked was there's a piece of like thing that it says. It's like he says he gets when the guy when they start moving like the different people around in the Navy,
uh,
and it says you're appointed Secretary of the Navy, spoon drop.
yes.
And I was just kind of like taking it like if like spoon drop was like the version of mic drop in this movie.
Did you watch through the end credits?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last one was whoosh monster noise chomp, which I didn't know who that dude was, but it felt like it was in memoriam that got eaten by
Oh yeah, I
Reigo.
don't know what that one is either.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Right. It's a picture of a guy who looks like, oh, did someone die during the making or something? And then then the Rago cartoon chomps him.
Uh, um, uh, yeah. So right up the front, at the front of the movie, I thought it was going to be okay, because we get like shots of Rago underwater. So I'm like, well, I guess it's not going to be like a mystery. So it's going to be kind of fun. We're gonna, they're not holding back showing the monster, so we'll kind of, be able to get right into the action. But then I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't interesting, really.
Yeah, the other thing that I kept also like, because like there are parts of the movie were in color,
Yes.
parts of the movie were in black and white,
Right.
parts of the movie were in sepia tone, but we did not change time periods during any of that stuff.
I think the only time jump is at the end.
Oh,
Cause,
when they
cause
jump to to the future of the battleship.
well, when you see the boy with the penis, he's like
Right.
he's like 4 years old,
Yeah.
and he comes across that guy's fiance or friend. But the thing is, she doesn't look like she's any
Oh, right.
older. They just put her in
Right.
like a different
Oh,
outfit.
the boy who's got the little like turtle, maybe it's a Gamera doll, who knows thing on the string. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's another random thing. Okay. You know the guy with the eye patch?
Right.
There's lots of, by the way, all the guys are yelling when they're giving orders on the ship.
Uh-huh.
And this guy, because the first time I saw him, it was like, I don't know, it was like this. He looked like a pit bull type of character guy.
Oh yeah.
And then later there's a part where he's unbuttoning his coat, and they put sound effects for each button on the boat on the coat that he's unbuttoning. I mean, it's some kind of like wacky comedy sound effect for him opening his jacket. But those sound effects didn't get subtitled.
That's really weird because maybe the subtitle guy was confused.
So weird.
Yeah. You put question marks. Buttons opening? Question mark? The bonefish attack was okay. It was kind of cool, but like there was like random lights under the water, and I couldn't tell what was going on. And there's a lot of use of like CG lens flare.
There was no visible connection. It's just kind of like they had some shots of the bonefish puppet. I just think the bonefish puppet looked cool, and they had some like cartoons of the bonefish, but and then people reacting. I think there was like someone maybe holding a thing that is like the bonefish body up against his neck kind of thing, and that's kind of the extent of it.
There's like a quick shot.
Yeah.
I don't have too many notes.
Okay.
I thought the censored love letter was interesting.
That was interesting because There was a lot that was censored on it, but it was very long.
Yeah. This American. This
I
American
was
that they
curious.
find.
Hold on, about this
Okay.
leather too. I was
Okay.
curious about that because I go that's an interesting detail. Like it could be a reality thing that
Right.
the government censored because it's like the postcards that got sent. And you just get to read what the government says. All right, this we need to keep you focused on the war or something. Maybe who knows? Yeah, the American Navy guy that they pull onto the ship, who speaks perfect Japanese and speaks English with a Japanese accent.
Right. Right.
Part of the heavy gun crew.
I like the way he says "holy shit."
Yes.
All of his American English words were like that. Were like swears and it's just very strange. Like I wonder. Like I try to think about it from the other side. Like if we have. Like if we reverse it, if we were have an American, if we had like an American movie and someone playing a Japanese person, would it be just as weird? Like a, because there are Japanese American people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I can't. It's hard for me to explain, but we saw it in Shin Godzilla, where the female lead was playing an American and she was Japanese.
Right.
And in Japan, are they pulling off an American well? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
Like, are
do
they buying?
think,
Like, are they
do they
buying
think
it?
it sounds American?
Right.
I don't know.
Because if I were to see like a Japanese American person doing a Japanese accent, I would just assume they were Japanese or if they were speaking Japanese. Because I'm not familiar with
Sure.
the culture that much. So I'm wondering, do the Japanese people think that dude is like pulling off a great American character?
Okay. That's a good question.
I don't know.
That's a really good question. Because listen, there are times that I've watched TV shows where there's a family and they're speaking Spanish to each other, and where you can hear like this is they're supposed to be whatever, a family from the same place or whatever it is, but it's clearly it'll be something like this is a Puerto Rican accent talking to a Mexican accent talking
okay.
to a gringo accent,
Right.
I
wouldn't pick up on that.
like a really coarse American accented Spanish talking to someone who's a native speaker, and they talk to each other because they're related. It's you hear it, you do hear it.
Right.
So I don't know
Because
because you say you might not catch that.
Right.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, maybe.
I just thought it was interesting.
Oh, I have another great subtitle: Dramastic music builds.
It's just a misspelling.
I don't know. Maybe it's just.
There was one that it said flute like music plays, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it is a flute.
They don't even trust it.
The subtitle guy was like, I'm pretty sure it's a flute.
Maybe it's like a flute synthesizer.
Maybe.
Okay,
But that wouldn't be a flute.
Reigo eats Murinishi.
Yes, that's my next note. He eats people. Which we discuss sometimes. I think we mostly just discuss it when we see it happen. I think we get excited because of think like playing Rampage growing up. Is that you don't really see a lot of kaiju eat people.
Yeah.
It happens in Kong Skull Island.
Well, you can't really do it unless it's a CGI kaiju because it's like you can't really work a guy in the costume, I guess, necessarily. Well, I guess some
Puppet
dolls
people.
probably got 8. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That was really bad CGI. That almost looked like the kind of CGI that they would show to depict in case of emergency and kaiju eats human, and then they have like a model like shaped of a person being eaten. It's like it's so it felt very like when you hear someone say something and then they kind of try to do an artist rendering of how it might look.
Right. The CG reminded me of like a DVD demo that you would see in a Best Buy in like 1998.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like one of those where it's just like it's like it's like computer scapes or
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the guy almost looks like like that doll that artists use to pose people and kind of like as like models of to how the body moves.
uh-huh.
It was very like there's like no facial features or anything.
Yeah.
When he got him getting shot was cool.
Yes.
When it shoots and you see it come out through him,
Uh-huh.
that looked pretty cool.
Like that point blank. Even though earlier in the movie they couldn't shoot that close range, but I guess since the boat was like half sinking, it was like like you said, a Hail Mary. A couple of things. So when he gets shot and he crashes and there's like this red mist flying out and the mist just kind of like hovers in the air and slowly dissipates. There's a couple of shots like that where like boats explode or ships explode and then the water is just slowly coming down, but they don't cut away. They just leave it on the shot, which I thought was an interesting style choice. But I liked it better when they shot Rago as opposed to just some random boat, some random CG boat.
Yeah, it looked cooler. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like that was like get this part done first and make sure this is right, and then whatever money's left over will CGI boats.
The design of the character I liked. It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
I think it was Zigra, the fish from the Gamera movies. Like there was a little bit of that in there because it had like a fish body, but then it had like flippers like Gamera when Gamera flies, but then like a Godzilla head. Like it was really interesting. Like it looked like it could fly around.
Or like
more.
Yeah, or like if a Loch Ness monster had a really short, it didn't have a long neck, because he had like the plesiosaur style almost like fins,
but only the
and he had like
fins.
he had a big like thing on his back too, like a sailish kind of thing on his back, I think too.
Yeah, I thought the design was really interesting, and when we saw it right up front at the beginning, I was excited. But then it didn't look as good later in the movie. When it did jump out of the water and there was like surrounded by the lightning and the lightning was shooting out, that was cool.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Yeah.
So all right, so they're trying to get one of the heavy gunners dies, and so then they have this idea to enlist the American prisoner because he's part of the heavy gun crew on his ship. So that happens. Then they defeat Rago, and then the guy who's in charge of all the gunners down there, he's like talking about how he's great to get his enemies, referring to the Americans. There's this weird kind of moment between then the Americans like, hey, I'm your enemy, and they're like, kind of like this kind of like really weird moment.
Yeah. Not as weird as the ending. I had no idea what was going on with the kabuki.
Yeah, because like everyone that died, they did like the blood on their faces looked like kabuki paint, basically.
Right, but then
they
cut
to the actual kabuki. Yeah.
That was all interesting, and I'm gonna actually bring that up again on our next episode because we find on this show the way we record 2 episodes at a time, how we find weird
connections between them.
Yeah, and there's something in the next episode that's very similar, and it's kind of exciting to me that of all, like, it's just random how this works out. But
That's just how it lines up.
yeah,
Let him die in peace and dignity.
yeah, I
Huh.
like that. I like that too because they
Yeah,
were just
they're like,
unloading. I mean, I
yeah,
guess
they
you
were
could.
just they surrounded him and they were just shooting like their machine guns at him.
Yeah, and I mean, I
Like, okay,
guess
enough.
yeah, if you're gonna be able to put him out of his misery, fine, but don't just torture him. I did like that because it wasn't it made it like it wasn't personal. Like this was something like we just have to do this because you're a monster destroying stuff. But there's like no like I don't know like it felt like there was some respect there for
Yeah.
Rago, even though he ate
Yeah,
one of
well,
his dudes.
yeah, as opposed to like when they would laugh at Gamera. Whenever Gamera would end up on his back, they would
Right,
laugh at him.
right.
Yeah, at one point I wrote the CGI is depressing.
It, yeah. I think if it wasn't just boats versus monster the whole time, like I get if you have to resort to CG, but if there was like more interesting things to do, like if you because it clearly could fly, like if there was some sort of dogfight sequence, like the
We
kind
should
of
we should yeah, I wonder what the Ryga trailer looks like.
right. I did not look at that one.
Cuz my feeling is it's going to be kind of like those Millennium Godzillas where there's a lot of like, oh, he's behind a mountain, or
Right.
or some kind of like composite that just zips around.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, people can let us know. Like, hey,
Yeah.
so let us know. I mean, but don't be like, oh yeah, you should check it out. It's pretty cool.
No, tell us what movie we
Be
should watch instead.
right, exactly.
That's what we really
Our
want to know.
list, our list is pretty burly still. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we just picked the stuff that we thought was going to be like the coolest stuff, and
Mhm.
and maybe
Spaced it up.
maybe we have room to wiggle.
Yeah,
on
I
some
think
of the
so.
things.
I think we should. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's a lot to plan a full year's worth of movies
yeah.
and not think that there's going to be some adjustments. I mean, we had to make the adjustment after they moved the release date for King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right. But what's funny
So.
is we're already doing the adjusting on the first week. But I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, we, yeah, we have good stuff coming up. Do you want to talk about next episode?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing it. We're finally closing it up. We're
Oh,
watching The Wrath of Daimajin, aka Daimajin 3,
Daimajin strikes again. Daimajin
1966.
counterattack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough because
Thanks.
all three Daimajins came out in 1966.
Right.
So you can't just say, hey, watch the one from 1966 because that could be any of them. This is the one with snow, if that helps.
Oh.
Because the first one took place like on the side of that mountain. The second one took place in the water, and this one kind of takes place in the snow.
Mm.
So if there's snow, you're watching.
You're on the
right
right one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we'll have a link. So check kaijupod.com. Watch Wrath of Daimajin. And yeah, that'll give you links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Which, man, people are still going to the YouTube. I'm still getting all kinds of people subscribing, which is cool. But
Really? Wow.
yeah. So yeah, check that out. Until next time,
Oh no.
I'm gonna go fill up this old man.
I'm just gonna sit down on the floor to eat dinner.
Who's
What?
huh? Who eats dinner on the floor?
They all did. They all sat
Oh yeah, I
down.
guess
They
so.
all, yeah, it's cold. Yeah,
Yeah, they're like sitting around talking about
just sitting around.
Reigo,
Yeah,
the myth of Reigo. Reigo.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
getting drunk. Oh, by the way, the like three of the people that were in it. The man who was like the commander. He was the original Ultraman,
Oh, okay.
and the young guy was in a newer Ultraman called Ultraman Cosmos. He was
Okay.
on the show. I don't know if he. I don't think he was Ultraman, but I don't know for sure. And also the guy who played the Inspector in the Gamma movies was in it.
Oh, huh. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Is that a thing where it's like it's like homage to the history of kaiju
Fan service.
movies, or is
I think
it?
it's fan. I think.
You think
I
so?
don't know. I
Because
think
like
it's
if
just
you
like
live in England, chances are you were going to be in one of those Harry Potter movies, just because
no,
you
but no, but no, no,
you'll run into
no, not
people.
coincidence. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's because the the guy who made it
Right.
was a fan of. He's just a big fan of the whole kaiju, movie thing, and
Right.
so I think he hired whoever he could.
All right.